Okay, we've been waiting on our trunk drop-offs, and FedEx dude brought it yesterday, and I'm gonna see if we can get this box open and see what we got. All right, I got these on eBay, and they were about half the price of everyone else, so we'll see how good they are. It says auto body panels, classic to current fabrication. So let's take a look, see what we got in here. They got to be better than what's on the car because they're about half the price off. So make these work. Got it staped up good. And of course, tons and tons of paper. Let's see. Right trunk extension, Firebird Trans Am 74 to 81. Okay, well, there's one. Okay, left trunk extension. Well, I don't know, these don't seem too bad. They're, I'd say about 18 gauge. These might not be bad at all. Well, it's going to need a little bit of finessing. It's kind of overlapping there, but, you know, overall, at least they're made out of something that won't be that hard to weld. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and get started on this project. We're going to go ahead and put the quarter skins on, inner wheel wells, and trunk extensions. All right, let's go check this dude out. See if it's gonna fit up in there, see if we're in the ballpark, and kind of show you a look at what the original one looks like. And yeah, it's pretty much gone here. Not the worst I've ever seen, but yeah, looks like that's gonna go up in there like that, and we'll have to get in here and get all these spot welds. Of course, when we cut this quarter skin off, should have pretty good access to it. I laid the quarter skin on there, and in all this dust I made a line. That's a no-go line, so we're going to cut down here somewhere just to kind of get started, and that's going to give us access to the spot welds up here. It might be a little hard to reach in the very top because that inner wheel well goes, well, somewhere up. Yeah, it's up in there pretty good, but it should be pretty easy to get to the spot welds here and down here. It's just that one little section up there, and we got this new one, and it's got plenty wide enough flange on it. I like that. And this too, even though it's kind of a cheap one, it's got plenty of flange. It's always better to have more because you can always chop it off. Now, if it's real thin, you got a problem. You got nothing to weld to. So, man, they made their flanges big. I think they're a little bigger. Yeah, if you look at this one here, that's about 3/4 maybe. This is at least an inch, if not more. So Got plenty to weld to, and then we'll just trim off the excess. We're gonna have to trim that down because that don't really I don't know, man. It's I like that they're heavy gauge, but the quality isn't all there. But man, it's at least it's something to work with. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this project started. I'm gonna take the DA, clean the paint off. Already did a test sample here. This paint is not really that thick, so it's gonna sand off pretty easy. We'll get that cleaned up. Probably come down here, clean that up, and then over here as well. Now this quarter, it does wrap around, but I don't know. That right there is just kind of a weird angle. We might just chop it off here and make our seam there, because this right here is pretty solid, you know. And what I'll try to do is hide my seam under the spoiler. So here we go with hacking off this quarter skin. All right, I'm gonna get you guys out of the refrigerator because every 5 minutes it says camera too hot. So got the camera all chilled down, and I'm gonna take you guys out here and get you set up on this tripod, and I'm gonna go to town sanding off this paint. Let me show you guys what we got going on here. We've got paint sanded off up here, and this right here is my no-go line. Put the quarter skin on there, and I know not to cut farther than that. So we're gonna come along down in here, chop this off, come this way, and then down in here we've got the trunk drop off behind this. And then of course we got the quarter skin coming down. So we're gonna go along here, cut it this way, then we can look up in there and see which layer is on top of which, and then we know how to put it all back together again. And of course we're gonna come over here, cut out around the wheel well, and of course when I did my little repair over here, we already got this chopped off. Still got to make a repair piece for this rusty piece, and once we get that skin off, then we can go on the inside and cut out this inner wheel well, take the spot welds out of that right there and that trunk drop off, and drop that down out of there, and all this will be open, and we can get in there and work on the inner pieces. And then once we get those all in place, we can fit the skin, and then it's just going to be a whole lot of very patient welding so we don't warp it. Little tiny tacks and cool it, and then we'll finally get this here quarter panel looking good, because yeah, plexiglass just isn't, you know, just ain't good, you know. Somebody thought it was, but you know, we're not gonna keep that. We're just gonna hack that off. So we'll go ahead and start cutting. I got 2 fresh batteries and a stack of cutting wheels. I'm just gonna cut loose on this. see if we can pull this off here. Over here to that. Chop that off. There we go. All right. Now, get up in here. And I do believe we can get up in there and spot weld that one. Do some plug welds. Got open access to this trunk drop off. Yeah, it needed that inner wheel well. It was a little crusty. And now we can see over here what layer goes on top of what. Can do it accordingly. It looks like we've got our quarter skin and then the trunk drop off. So I have to do some plug welds on the inside of that trunk drop off. Here we can just slice this dude off and then have access to the spot welds behind there. Get that down out of there and start working on this wheel well. All right, awesome. Well, this is Saturday of the 4th of July weekend. So as you can imagine, it's pretty toasty in here. And the camera's not liking it, so it's spending a lot of quality time in the refrigerator. So now that we got it all chilled down again, I can go ahead and show you what we got done here. We got this lip trimmed right down here, so we got access to these spot welds. And I'm leaving this in place so that this ill-fitting trunk drop-off, I can see if it's too short, too long, see, you know, from where the existing one was, the angle that it sets at, and that way we can kind of fudge it if we have to. So I'll go ahead and get all these spot welds ground out over here and down through here. Get this cleaned up, and I think while I'm at it, I'm going to do this little patch over here for the trunk. Probably later on we'll do this one. Might have to take this brace out and do a little repair on it, because I'll have to drill the spot welds out. I don't want to drill all the way through, so we'll get all that fixed up. So I'm going to go ahead and get these spot welds out of here, and then we can start fitting our trunk drop off. got all the remnants of the old trunk drop-off removed and discovered that we're a little thin here. And then of course this needs patching. Excuse the semi-truck, which is really loud. So if I can hold on to this, we got a patch piece for here, and got a patch piece over here. So it's getting kind of late today, so when I come in the morning, I'm gonna go ahead and chop this out, get this repaired and fixed up, and then we can get our trunk drop off tacked in place and move on to our wheel well. And that way we'll at least have something here for reference. We know where this one ended, and that'll give us a better idea of where everything's gonna set. So see y'all in the morning. Okay, it is the next day, and I went to fit my little pieces and discovered that there was some rot up under this little brace piece. So we'll go ahead and fix it with this. Got some little spots for plug welds, and then we'll run a bead around that, and then we can fit our other piece in there up against that, and then we'll be able to get our trunk drop off up in there, and then move on to this wheel well. So we'll do a little welding and get this all patched up. I got all my patches done and smoothed out, and this trunk drop off just does not fit very good. I had to do pie cuts on it and straighten it out. It was all crooked, but this piece right here was pretty deteriorated, so I replaced it. And on my quarter skin, it ends right here, so I don't have anything to weld to. So fabricated this piece, and there's bolt holes for the bumper, and I've got it bolted on here because I can't weld to this because this is going away. I got that rear piece on back order, parts on back order again. But when I cut this out, I'll have something to weld to, and it'll be bolted, and then I can unbolt it when I go to cut out all of this. So now I can get my trunk drop off up in there, and I've got some plug welds to plug weld it to that, and then we'll put some temporary tacks on this. Once I've got everything fit up, I'll get up under there and spot weld with the spot welder these two seams together. So we'll get it in there and tack temporary, and then we can go ahead and cut out this wheel well. Okay, finally got my trunk drop off tacked in place. Went up inside and did a little tack underneath. I'm gonna have to cut that tacks because when I get my quarter skin on, I'm gonna have to move this in and out to meet it. Then it'll be spot welded up solid, and we'll go underneath and spot weld that. In case I have to move this, I've just got little itty bitty tacks here but it's in the position that it needs to be. So now that we got all that mess straightened out, we can go ahead and just chop off this wheel well. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. Well, after a lot of grinding, I finally got the old flange off of the old wheel well, and it appears that from the factory they used a rolling spot welder, kind of like where they do the seams on a gas tank. So basically I just had to kind of grind the whole flange down to a razor blade and finally got it off of there. So, and I did a little bit of fitting on this wheel well, and it's getting close. It ain't quite there yet. Got a little more here to do, and still got to do a little bit of patching up in there. There's a hole. If I can get this off of here and show you. Yeah, it's a little thin right there, but it ain't too bad. But you can see that that was a rolling spot weld, and fortunately it wasn't holding very good here, so we're gonna have to do a lot of plug welds, and it'll actually be stronger than the factory. So gotta get this cleaned up a little more, do my little patch up in here. I think I'll make a little pattern and fix that area right there, and do a little patch here. And at one time or another, somebody came in here and cut some slots, so I have to get all this undercoating cleaned off and do a little repair there, get all this junk sanded out of there and cleaned up. So I'm gonna go ahead and see if we can't get this fit up in there a little bit better and do a little bit of repair, and we'll have everything ready to put on our quarter skin. All right, it's the next day, and I came in and fixed all of the holes, did my little patches, and I'm gonna go ahead and put some tack screws in the wheel well so that I can see if everything's gonna line up with the quarter skin. And of course, I'll have to do all my plug welds here before I put on my quarter skin, because obviously can't reach it after that's on. So just want to do a little fitting before I permanently weld it on and see how everything fits. All right, well, it's fitting. I had to do a little pie cut down here and hammer this back a little bit, and it looks like the quarter skin's gonna fit. Of course, I'm gonna have to do a little fudging over here where it got bent up. Probably cut that off and cut the other one and run a bead down through here, get this fixed, and now I can go ahead and pull this off, drill all my plug holes for back up in here, get this welded on permanently so we can move on to the quarter skin. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. got about a gazillion plug welds up in here, and this is pretty solid now. Got some plug welds down here on the ends, and I think this is going to be a little bit stronger than the factory because they missed about a foot right over here, and it's pretty solid now. It was kind of floppity before I had it welded in just with the tack screws. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and do my repair here, and then I'm gonna get POR 15 all the way up over around here where I can't get to once the quarter skin is on. All this other stuff and fixing down here I can do afterwards, but I want to go ahead and start fitting my quarter skin. So I'm gonna get this cleaned up and fixed, and then we'll go ahead and fit our quarter skin. Little patch panel done here. Got everything all coated up with POR 15. Could put a good layer up in there as far as I could reach, and gonna let this dry overnight. Even got the inside of this trunk drop off, and once the quarter skin is on there, we ain't gonna be able to get to this. So now when this dries, we can go ahead and start fitting our quarter skin and getting it welded in. So we're gonna come back tomorrow when this is dry and start fitting. All right, it's the next day, and I've got my quarter skin all prepped and a couple of coats of etching primer. And when I get all this tape peeled off, put some weld through primer, and gonna go ahead and get started tacking it, getting ready to weld. Getting the quarter skin stitched up pretty nicely here, and getting our little tacks all the way down, getting a really good fit right here, and got this strip that we cut off. There's access to pull it out of the trunk, so just got a little bit left over in here, and we'll cut and butt all the way down through here and here. And then here, we're gonna plug weld it. And got all the plug welds for the inner fender part. And over here, we got a little bit of a gap, but that's okay because there's a brace piece behind there. So if you blow a hole, it'll just keep filling it up until you hit the piece behind it. So I'm gonna keep on stitching this up and get this quarter skin welded in. starting to look really good here. We've got all the plug welds and the wheel well done and smoothed out. I got this seam all welded up and smoothed out. Still got to go ahead and weld this solid and smooth it out. And got one little plug weld there. We don't want to get that too welded up because we're going to have to replace this tail piece. But one little problem I got is ran out of gas. So in our next video, we'll get this all welded up and smoothed out. And since today is the 4th of July, we're gonna end this video with a bang. So we appreciate y'all watching.